All right, it's a beautiful day in Seattle. Walking down to Sabotage. She's in the water. Got to put some sails back on board and measure for check stays today. We made it. We've actually had our first 2 races. One was a drifter, the other was a barn burner, and we'll have some footage of that soon. But in the meantime, time to share a little bit more about how we got here. The last video, me and Gabe, we actually had no plumber's crack. So in this installment of the Sabotage refit, we're going to take you to the bottom job, part 2. So down below, lots going on still. Just do a update on some things here. Definitely update on the keel. So my epoxy skills aren't the best, but trying to figure out this whole keel joint, and that ridge, really hard to get rid of. I've been trying to push up epoxy up into that to make that not such a hard edge, but not going the best way possible. So good thing is you can sand, you can apply sand, apply sand, apply sand, and go from there. Like, you know, that's ugly. So I'll try and keep pushing up into there and sanding it fair. This side looks a little better, but just still trying to get that ridge gone is proving to be difficult. And back here it's not as much of a ridge, so we definitely looks better. So anywho, that's a little update for the bottom. Here we are back under the boat. My last bit of fairing on the hull keel joint, I think, went really well. So we'll sand this out, smooth it out, but I think that's going to be it. There's this edge here, this flange that comes down from the hull, and then it, you know, kind of goes back in. I gave that as much of a radius as I could, smooth that out, but I think at some point we just need to put some paint on and go sailing. So I'm gonna fair this out and smooth this out as much as I can with some sandpaper, and there's the other side. So I think it turned out pretty well. And then we'll put a layer of barrier coat on here, first coat of barrier coat on the keel, because on the keel here we sanded down to fairing compound, and then the new fairing compound obviously got thin or needs barrier coat on it. This needs barrier coat on it, so I'll just put a coat of barrier coat on here, and probably 2 coats of what this will take, and then the bottom should be ready to paint. Hopefully in the next hopefully 2 weeks from now we'll paint the bottom. That'll give us some good time. But anyway, things are humming along. I just got some barrier coat on the keel. You may be asking why I don't have barrier coat on the rest of the hull. Because on the hull I've got this nice white epoxy bottom, and the hull's nice and fair. So I didn't want to keep sanding and sanding and sanding to knock this out of fair. So basically, all of this blue that you see still is old bottom paint that's in kind of some swirl marks and things. But the bottom paint that I'm going to be putting on, which is Interlux Ultra Coat, can go over, just can't go over Balta plate. And there isn't Balta plate on here because Balta plate is kind of brownish looking, and this is blue. So I basically got down to everything I could, as you saw in the previous little time-lapse videos, to get to where I'm at on the bottom here. So the keel, however, I had to sand much more to get it off, to get the old bottom paint off, and I actually went through quite a bit of of the substrate, or not the substrate's keel, but went through a lot of the barrier coat. I went through some fairing and that sort of thing, and then this whole keel joint is obviously all new fairing compound, so that needs to get waterproofed with Interprotect. So one thing about boats is they're not waterproof. You get blisters in the hull when you don't have a proper barrier coat. You need an epoxy barrier coat to keep water from penetrating into the gel coat and into the fiberglass. So I've got a nice, good epoxy bottom already on most of the hull. I had to do some spot fairing, and so I did do some Interprotect in those spots. But first coat of barrier coats on the keel, again, because the keel, I had to strip almost everything off the keel. I had exposed metal, exposed fairing compound, so we just did a whole new barrier coat on the keel. And then the rest of the hull, just some spot fairing with some Interprotect in those spot fairing, and I'll feather that out when I come back and do the next coat. So. Alright, so the bottom is ready to paint. Sanded the keel a little bit. Had some people helping get trailer covered and all the last bits and pieces ready. Bottom's ready to paint. We'll start painting next weekend. Rent the sprayer, all that kind of stuff, and gotta buy the paint, and we'll get this going. But keel and bottom's all sanded the way I would like it, and ready to go. This is a big step, so stoked to have this part done. Well, the prep done. So now we just have to start painting. All right, so it's paint day. Finally gonna be getting bottom paint on the boat. This is a big day. So of course, I am running around like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to find a sprayer tip that's big enough. I rented a sprayer from a local little rental company here, and they assured me they had the proper spray tip, and lo and behold, they did not. So I'm driving around trying to find one, and finally found one back towards where I live. So yeah, running a little behind schedule for the day, but it'll happen. The joys of boat work. All right, ready to start actually painting. So this isn't a how-to video or anything, but just explaining what I'm doing. So going with Interlux Ultra Coat. Ultra Coat is a very hard bottom paint with lots of metal in it, and so it's very good anti-fouling. It's easy to clean because it's so hard. It can be wet sanded, much like Balta-Plate. It doesn't have the, I don't know what's a better word, slickening agents. So Balta-Plate, VC17, VC Offshore all have additives that make them slick. Ultra Coat is slick because it's hard, and I can get it smooth through wet sanding. So this is my first time spraying a boat bottom. The last 4 bottom jobs I've rolled on all the paint, so I wasn't super stoked with the finish of those, so we'll see how spraying goes. I spent the morning looking for the correct tip because there's a lot of solids in this bottom paint. You have to have the orifice, as you will, on the tip needs to be kind of wide. So I got the Kote 521 tip, the only one in Ballard. So this will allow for a 10-inch spray fan and a 20 or 0.53 millimeter tip or orifice. So we'll get that set up, and there's no real good place to place the camera while I'm spraying, and I have no one here to video, so we'll see how it goes if you can see me through the plastic a little bit. All right, so the rental place gave me incompatible parts for the paint sprayer, so I just made my way down to the Harbor Freight, which I go to often, which I love so much. Actually, I really like Harbor Freight. They're very friendly people. Usually have what I need, but anywho, parts I got, I don't know if are compatible together, so I just got a bunch of them, and I'll return what I don't use, I guess. You know, it's just the nature of these projects. I just assumed that what they gave me at the rental place was going to be compatible with all the other stuff they gave me, but it wasn't. So hopefully they'll give me some kind of discount, because I've had to run around all day trying to fucking find this shit. So back to the boat we go. All right, so first coat of bottom paint is on. It's black, that's for sure. Not like super stoked with my first effort here. I feel like it went on real inconsistent. I had some issues with the sprayer, and with the tip. The proper size tip that I got exploded everywhere, so I'm not sure what happened there. So I used as big a tip as I had, and I don't know if that was big enough. But I seem to have gotten enough paint on there, so you know, we'll see. Can't quite tell if it's smoother than rolling on or not at this point. I can tell you it's a pain in the ass to clean up, and as you can see, this is the remnants of that first tip exploding everywhere. Not quite sure what happened, but that thing was not compatible with what I've got, evidently. So yeah, that's the splatter from that. So anyway, I'm glad I've got 3 more coats to go. I felt for some reason like a little rush. I don't know why. I got plenty of time, so but we'll see. Like, it's definitely black. But the tip I use, you know, I don't know. We'll see. You can see with the light, you know, it's kind of inconsistent. I mean, it's drying, so it may look that way, but we'll wait 5.5 hours, because it's been a half hour already. So there's the rudder. It's been a half hour, and it's a 6-hour time limit for the next coat. So that'll be late in the day, but I'm gonna have to go buy some more spirits and thinners and things to clean this up, but you can see how the tip quality makes a difference. Like, I don't think that looks very good because it was thicker on the edges of the spray than the middle of the spray. So we'll adjust and keep going for the next coat. But again, you know, it's drying right now, so we'll see how that goes. All right, it's been a long day, but the second coat is on. I think this went on much better than the first. There's actually a lot more paint on the boat, this one, because I actually got the right tip to work. So I was missing a little rubber gasket that I did not know I was missing. So that helped quite a bit. So anyway, I'm done for the night. Gonna turn the heaters on so that this can cure, and I think we're good. It's a technique for sure with the paint, with the sprayer. So hopefully each coat is better than the last. A couple spots where there was some drips and went a little overboard, so I kept a little brush with some brushing thinner on hand, which helped. So anyway, that's that for today. Well, that's it. 4 coats of paint. Four coats of paint. It got better with each one. So I'll have to come back this week and get what's under the bunk pads. But for all intents and purposes, bottom's done. So hard to see because it's dark, but in transport from the warehouse over to our staging area at the sail loft to get the boat in final preps for going in the water, we discovered a cracker on the front of the keel that was not apparent, with some water in it that was not apparent even after I ground the whole thing out. So we're going through some problem solving and seeing what we can do to fix it, tightening up the keel bolts, things like that. Contacted someone who at least worked closely with these boats back in the 70s and 80s, so letting us know what to do. So basically we're going to give the keel bolt some attention and tension them properly, which we've done a little bit of, and then grind out all the fairing that I just did, and wrap this keel joint with some fiberglass, and then fair it out again. So that's where we're at there. Bit of a delay on getting launched and getting ready. Probably missed the first race this season, but you know, it's the way it goes. So that's the way it goes.